Marinaro, the Sick Podcast on this Thursday, December 4th. Thanks for watching, everyone. The voice is a little bit better, but I don't want to push my luck, so I'm going to let you know this is going to be an abbreviated show tonight because I have to try and preserve this voice as much as I can because I'm just starting to get the voice back. It's been a really, really tough 4 or 5 days now. Craig Button will join me from TSN in just a couple of minutes, and after that, we're also going to hear from Pierre LeBrun, also of TSN. Montreal Canadiens, an off day after playing 2 games in 2 nights when they hosted the Ottawa Senators, a 5-2 loss, and last night a bounce-back 3-2 win in a shootout versus the Winnipeg Jets. Arbor Jacki answers the bell, goes to the defense of Alex Carrier, doesn't like the fact that Adam Lowry hits him. Juraj Slafkosvky promoted to the number 1 line. Mind you, they had a difficult time versus the Scheifele line last night, but Juraj Slafkosvky showed some pretty good moments. Zachary Bolduc demoted from the number 1 line to the line number 4. Alex Texier made his way on the second line with Kapanen and Demidov. Kapanen scores a big goal. Demidov picks up a big assist. Mark Scheifele for some real kind words regarding Ivan Demidov last night after the game, a night in which the Canadiens played tribute to former Montreal Canadiens defenseman Andrei Markov. As for trades, is there anything on the horizon? Any help coming for the Montreal Canadiens who can definitely need it? There's no doubt about it. We'll discuss that with Pierre LeBrun. Bill Guerin, the general manager of Hockey USA, was in attendance last night. He saw Cole Caufield and he saw Lane Hutson. I'm going to ask Pierre LeBrun if one or both or none end up on this Team USA for the 2026 Winter Olympics. John Cooper also says that by December 9th, we should know who's going to be part of the list for Hockey Canada. So as is usual, I asked Pierre LeBrun where we're at with that. We talk hockey with Craig Button and Pierre LeBrun. It's coming up right here on the Sick Podcast. I'm Marinaro.
It's the sickest podcast. Tune in for the audio, or you can even watch back. Giving players all the props, or put them on blast. We don't give no hot takes, only talk facts.
We're giving all our devotion, riding high on this wave of emotion. Going all out, yeah, cause this is our time. No, ain't no stopping us till we reach the finish line. All in, we came here to win. We're gonna give everything. S-I-C-K on the run. S-I-C-K, sick. On fire, we're ready to fight. We'll bring the house down tonight. S-I-C-K on the run. S-I-C-K, sick.
Playing on the car ride, play it when you lounge. X and O, you know that we can hold it down. Shout out to my man Sammy, got it off the ground. And to all the listeners tuned in right now, got debates, analysis, and speculation. This is sports talk for the new generation. You know where to find us, got a reputation. Sick Podcast, your number 1 sports destination.
We're giving all our devotion, riding high on this wave of emotion. Going all out, yeah, cause this is our time. No, ain't no stopping us till we reach the finish line. All in, we came here to win. We're gonna give everything. S-I-C-K on the run. S-I-C-K, sick. On fire, we're ready to fight. We'll bring the house down tonight. S-I-C-K on the run. S-I-C-K, sick.
S-I-C-K, it's the sickest podcast. Tune in for the audio, or you can even watch back. Giving players all the props, or put them on blast. We don't give no hot takes, only talk back. S-I-C-K, 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 S-I-C-K,
All in, we came here to win.
Turn up your volume. Because you're about to listen to The Sick Podcast. With Tony Marinaro.
55 seconds left in the penalty, a minute and 27 seconds left in regulation time. Boston 4, Montreal 3. Lafleur coming out rather gingerly on the right side. He gives it into Lanier, back to Lafleur.
The sickest Montreal Canadiens podcast.
You're in the
Sports entertainment like no other.
Rejoint, on lui fait perdre la rondelle, une passe devant. Et c'est le dégagement, et ce sera la victoire des Canadiens. Coupe Stanley pour les Canadiens. Leur 23e de l'histoire.
You found the dogs! John, you found the dogs! He found the dogs! And all together, they worked a young team to the top. And now, a 24th Stanley Cup banner will hang from the rafters of the famous Forum in Montreal. The Canadiens win the Stanley Cup!
Brought to you by Energy Transportation Group. Driven to be different. La Vida Tibi. Embrace your true nature. And Playground, your premier gaming destination. It's gonna be sick.
And here we are in the Sick Podcast. And without further ado, let's bring in Craig Button.
Craig Button, presented by Souvlaki Authentique. Bring the taste of Greece home.
Oh, yeah, Montreal knows good food, but nothing hits like Souvlaki Authentique. Every stick of Souvlaki is marinated fresh. Every pita is packed with flavor, and the potatoes twice fried and finished with that signature lemon sauce. It's comfort food, Greek-style, family-run, flavor-packed, and proud to serve Montreal. Go to SouvlakiAuthentique.com to find your nearest location and bring the taste of Greece home. Craig Button, how are you?
I'm good. Most importantly, glad to see you getting your voice back. I'll try to save some of that with you by being a little bit more long-winded than I usually am, so you don't have to talk as much. How's that sound, Tony? Good deal?
That sounds great to me. So I'll take up about 27 to 30 minutes of your time here. Go. You're on the clock. You can stop in 27 minutes. No, all kidding aside. It doesn't work that way, but thank you for saying that. Listen, they're all big wins in professional sports. But the Canadiens really disliked, obviously, what happened on Tuesday night, where they just rolled over for the Ottawa Senators. So that one there was a huge win for the Canadiens and a huge win for Jakub Dovish.
Two teams that hadn't played very well in their most recent games, Winnipeg and Buffalo on Monday, Montreal at home versus Ottawa on Tuesday. So you knew you were going to get, or you certainly expected that you were going to get an energized game from the players. And Montreal came out and they played really, really well. I think that game could have been far out of reach of the Winnipeg Jets if it wasn't for Eric Comrie's brilliance in the first period alone. It could have been 4 or 5-0. I mean, the number of saves that he made. When we talk about, great chances, great opportunities, if it wasn't for Eric Comrie, they might have had another players-only meeting after that game. Give Comrie credit for keeping them in. We've seen that with good goaltending. But Montreal stayed with it. They fell behind, got back into the game, kept getting their chances. I mean, Mark Scheifele talking about Demidov. I mean, that's how everybody's going to be talking about him. He could have won that game by himself in overtime, not only with his own shot, but the way he set up others. I mean, he was just brilliant. And one of the things that really impresses me about Demidov is the harder the game, the bigger the challenge. The bigger the moment, it seems that he's right in the middle of it. Like he's no shrinking violet, that is for sure. So Montreal, I mean, on a night where both teams, I think, can feel positive about their effort at the end of it, the right team got the 2 points. I don't think there's any question about it. The right team emerged with the 2 points. And Jakub Dovish, really rebounded nicely. I mean, that game in Colorado on Saturday, that got away from the Canadiens, and certainly you want to put those ones behind you. For Jakub Dovish to get in there and do that was important, not only just for him, but for the team. One of the things goaltenders have to do, we talk about making the save. Oh, they got to give you a save. They got to give you a save. The other thing they have to do, and good goaltenders do this, they give your team a sense of calm. They give your team a sense of reassurance. And with that, some confidence. Players don't want to be sitting on the bench going, "Oh, what are we going to get tonight? Oh, geez, he looks a little shaky on that shot." Conversely, the opponent's going, "Hey, let's get some shots on this guy. He looks shaky. He's not very confident." So I think Dobish in his play versus the Winnipeg Jets demonstrated all those qualities, and that's just as important as you carry forth with a really good effort, a really good game by Dobish and the Canadiens into your next game. I think that has to be something that is really, really important, not just for Jakob, but for the team as well.
I'd like to get your opinion on something, Craig, because you've been very outspoken about the Canadiens goalies, obviously. So have a lot of other people, but about what was it? Almost 2 weeks ago, the Canadiens hosted the Toronto Maple Leafs, and the Canadiens had lost 5 games in a row. And they went to Jakob Dobish for that game, and he won it. So then they go on that 3-game road trip to Utah, Vegas, and Colorado. And the most important game on that series, and I've repeated this story a couple of times, but it kind of like I don't get the logic, so I'm hoping that you can enlighten me. The most important game on that road trip, the most winnable one, was the first game in Utah. And they go back to Dobish, and he wins it. So now he's won 2 in a row. And then to end the road trip, they have a back-to-back, Friday in Vegas and Saturday in Colorado. The Saturday in Colorado was a game that the Canadiens were going up against the odds-on favorite to win the Stanley Cup as we speak, a powerhouse who hasn't lost many games. Travel from Montreal to Salt Lake to Vegas, Vegas to Colorado. A game on Wednesday at 9:30, a game on Friday at 4 p.m. Eastern, a game on Saturday at 3 p.m. Eastern. So now you're playing 3 games in less than 4 nights. Travel, jet lag, time changes, playing in altitude. Basically, most had the Colorado game being a scheduled loss for the Canadiens. And lose they did, and they lost big with Jakob Dobish in goal because they chose to go to Samuel Montembeault after Dobish had won 2 straight games. And they go to Montembeault, and Montembeault plays a great game, and they win. But now they come back to Montreal, and they play 2 games at 2 nights versus Ottawa and Winnipeg. And I think we can all agree that the more important of the 2 games is the one in your own conference and in your own division versus the Ottawa Senators, who were a point behind the Montreal Canadiens. And Jakob Dobish got the nod. Samuel Montembeault got the nod to start in goal versus Ottawa. That surprised me. And I thought that was the wrong call. Now, I'm not going to tell you that Dobish would have beat the Senators because the Canadiens were flat like you couldn't believe versus Ottawa. But do you understand me thinking that that's not the right call? I didn't get the logic.
So do you not reward Montembeault for having a great game in Vegas?
Yes. Does that mean you penalize Dobish, who was your number 1 up until his final game in Colorado?
Or was he the number 1? I don't know if he was the number 1.
Well,
I mean, bottom line is I don't think there's a clear number 1, Tony. Let me be very clear here. I haven't been outspoken about the Montreal Canadiens goaltending. They're at or near the bottom of the league in every goalie metric. That's a fact. If people can't handle the truth, go somewhere else and go do it. The bottom line is the goaltending's been right at the bottom of the league. That's Dobish and that's Montembeault together. There's no number 1 in Montreal right now. Marty's trying to find a number 1. And I think that you reward Montembeault. You're right about the travel. I mean, you go into that game, Montembeault played great in Vegas. Got him 2 points. And so what now? You don't reward him? I think you have to reward him. I think it was the right call. Let me tell you this. I don't care who was in the net on Tuesday night. Montreal wasn't winning that game. They were awful. They were as awful on Tuesday night as Winnipeg was awful on Monday night in Buffalo. So, we can talk about it. I think Montembeault needed to be rewarded.
Okay, fair enough. And I'll agree with you that I don't think they have a number 1 either. They're going to go with the guy that's hot and the guy that's winning. I just thought that based on that logic, Dobish should have won 2 in a row. He should get the 3rd one in a row. Didn't. They went to Montembeault, but he was great. You're right. Was Dobish the number 1? Let me clarify by saying that I agree with what you said. There's no real number 1. But 12 days, about 10 days before, versus Toronto, after losing 5 games in a row on a Saturday night versus your arch rival Toronto Maple Leafs, a conference game, a divisional game, Marty St. Louis looked at Jakob Dobish and said, "You're getting the starting goal." That leads me to believe that he was his guy on that particular night, his number one that night, and then after a bad game in Colorado, that changed. That's why I thought it was a little bit perplexing, but I totally get your point. I do. I get your point. Now, how do you explain the no emotion versus Ottawa? Like, I can explain the fact that the Canadiens were much better yesterday. Clearly, their coach challenged them. Clearly, their coach told them that it was a terrible loss versus Ottawa, and a lot of guys had to take a long look in the mirror because they didn't show up and they needed to be better. And a lot of guys know they weren't good versus Ottawa, so they decided to respond. But the letdown versus Ottawa, who were playing their 7th game in 15 days, 7th game in a row on the road, that was disappointing.
Yeah, what I would say, Tony, is if I had the answer for that, I wouldn't be talking to you. I'd be getting paid a lot of money by teams around the league to make sure it doesn't happen. Now, forget about me. Marty St. Louis and the coaching staff are always trying to get a gauge on their team. What can we expect? Where does the motivation need to be? Do I need to push a little bit? Do they need rest? Do they need a little bit of a harder practice? We're coming off the road. What does it all mean? And I think that we can be disappointed when we see a game like that. Just like Scott Arniel was disappointed about the game Monday versus Buffalo for his Winnipeg Jets. Players only meeting after the game. And I think that Adam Lowry takes it upon himself. He says, hey, listen, we got to be a lot better. And the coach can come in and he can motivate and he can, hold people accountable and everything. But if the players don't take it upon themselves, and by that, I call it ownership. Good teams, good, strong teams know that the ultimate responsibility lay with them. If they want to pass the buck and they want to say, well, geez, we travel. Yeah, we got to, you got to just say it wasn't good enough. We know it wasn't good enough and it won't happen. And it's going to happen. It's going to happen in a compressed schedule. It's going to happen on nights that you don't expect. And it doesn't make it acceptable, but then you try to understand for the next time. So I'd love to be able to give you an explanation. I don't have one. They're simply with the league and the way things go. Ottawa's ramped up. Brady Tkachuk had got back in the lineup in St. Louis. He gets ramped up. There could be any number of what I would call plausible explanations for what happened. And there could be just as many excuses. So I think that the key thing is for Montreal, poor game on Tuesday night, you get a chance to come right back the next night and get that taste out of your mouth. And they did.
Yeah. We talked about Demidov at the start of our conversation. He spins, he turns, he wins his puck battle versus Josh Morrissey. And on the assist to Oliver Kapanen, who ties the game up. Demidov had a career high in the National Hockey League, almost just shy of 20 minutes last night. Mark Scheifele said after the game, that Demidov kid is very impressive. When asked impressive how, he says moves, vision, skating, puck control. The kid has it all. The kid has it all. That's coming from Mark Scheifele.
He's going to be a superstar. He's so good. And he there's so many things to love about Ivan. And Mark mentioned it. Martin, greatness recognizes greatness or potential greatness. And I think that Mark's comments are really significant for Ivan and the fans of the Montreal Canadiens. But you cannot be great unless you have this indomitable will to be great. Everything he does is with a focus on how do I be better today so that I can be better tomorrow. And then tomorrow comes and it's how do I be better today so I can be better tomorrow. He is driven. He's a great competitor. He's somebody that doesn't just want, a lot of players want to be a difference maker. He is a difference maker. I said this to you previously, Tony, in the KHL last year. That's a hard league to play in. It's even a harder league to play in as a teenager because the acceptance of teenagers in the KHL and in Russian hockey is not high. It's not high. In fact, for you to play regular And even last year, when you think about, Ivan Demidov isn't playing, what's going on there, right? And you're sitting there going, well, geez, what is going on there? That's part of their hockey culture and what goes on there. He was outstanding last year in the KHL. And all the things that you saw him, he doesn't get deterred. He doesn't sit down and go, okay, I'm not playing. What am I going to do? He might only play 6 minutes, and he gets out there and he does special things. That speaks to the strength of the young person's belief in himself. And that, okay, I don't control if you're going to play me, but when I get out there, I'm going to give you reasons not to make sure that you do play me. And I love that about him. And he's just getting better by the minute. And Matthew Schaefer's been a great rookie in the league this year. We know what Jesper Wallstedt is doing with the Minnesota Wild. Demidov is in the same class with those two guys right now. People go, it's a runaway for Rookie of the Year. Not for me. I'm a voter. It's not a runaway for me. And as good as Matthew Schaefer has been, Demidov has been brilliant as well, as has Wallstedt.
Yep, he definitely has. Speaking of young players, there's a stat that came out yesterday. I'm going to see if I can get it. I have it here somewhere. Canadiens lead the NHL with 69 goals from players aged 26 or younger. Isn't that something, eh?
Well, I mean, again, Montreal, you have these players, and certainly there's a lot of players that qualify in that under 26 category. But they're good players and they're talented players. So when you have Slafkovsky and you have Suzuki and you have Caufield and you have Demidov and you have Kapanen and these young guys that not only were really good players before they got to the NHL, Lane Hutson, Noah Dobson, you got players that are now showing that they're going to excel in the NHL. And so this is part of building your team. I mean, you can't be a successful team without having good young players that take on prominent roles. Not at the outset, but at some point in time, they got to show, especially, the players you're counting on to do that. And I think Montreal has seen that. No surprise to me. I am sure that you might see a lot of the same types of things showing up in San Jose, Chicago, Anaheim. If you had to rank the teams with the most players under the age of 26 that are scoring goals, those teams would probably be in the top 5, 6, 7, 8 teams in the league.
Yep. And, speaking of young players, Juraj Slafkosvky, Marty St. Louis, after that loss versus the Ottawa Senators, he shuffled the deck last night. So he says, you know what, you're going back up to the number one line. You were with Suzuki and Caufield for 2.5 years. You're going back with them because I like what I've been seeing from you lately. I think you deserve the promotion. And I don't like what I've been seeing from Zachary Bolduc, especially on home ice. Bolduc, who, by the way, you ready for the stat? Has 1 point at home all season and has 6 goals and 5 assists, 11 points on the road. We're talking in pretty much the same amount of games almost. Isn't that a crazy stat? To have 1 point at home and 11 on the road.
It is, and we just saw what he did on the road on this most recent road trip. I mean, he was really good, especially the 2 wins. And, the coaches have that information, and, well, what is it? Is there something that Zach is struggling with playing in the Bell Center? I don't know, but the coaches have this information, so you see that. I am gonna dispute, and not harshly, and not in an argumentative way, Tony. I think when Marty St. Louis put Slafkovsky with Kapanen and Demidov, that was a promotion. That was a promotion for Slafkovsky's emergence now as somebody that can be a major contributor to a line and can help 2 young players, rookies, at a critical junction in their season. And playing up with Suzuki and Caufield, it was great, but Uri needed that support when he was a little bit younger. And the fact that Marty said, wait a sec, you're a guy now that can give that support. I think that is one of the greatest things that a coach can tell a player, that you matter. I was around Jere Lettman from the day we drafted him and all the way through his tenure with the Stars while I was there. We could move Jere anywhere around the lineup.
Yeah.
Yere's importance to the team was all the time, anywhere. That's what Slafkovsky is showing me right now. And I think that we get caught up, first line, second line. Key part of his development has been his ability to take responsibility to help others. I think it's phenomenal. I think that Juraj Slafkosvky is a player that is showing how integral he is to the Montreal Canadiens' present and certainly their future.
One thing is for certain, it was a demotion, though, for Zachary Bolduc, who went from the first line to the fourth line. And under 8 minutes of play last night, his lowest number, I believe, all season was the lowest number on the night. I was with Pierre McGuire last night and Brian Wild. And Pierre was saying Zachary Bolduc needs to improve his defensive play, his play without the puck. And Craig, I've seen many examples where in the last 4 or 5 minutes of a game, in a tie game or a 1-goal game, Bolduc doesn't see the ice. So he clearly needs to work on his defensive game.
Yeah, and again, there's areas. He's still a young player, and he was just a rookie last year, so he's a young player trying to find his way. I hear this often, Tony, that coaches aren't playing the players that the other players should be deserving more ice time. I am dying to meet this coach that won't play the players that help him win. This idea that a coach is standing behind the bench and going, well, I'm not going to play that guy because you know what? I don't want to win. Watch how the coaches use players. They are telling you a lot about how they value the player. You talk about the last 5 minutes of a game, the third period, 10 minutes left, whatever situations. Just watch how the coaches use the players. They are telling you a lot about how they think about the player's ability to help in those situations and how they value those players. Zach Bolduc didn't get pushed up to the top line by accident. He did it because he showed that he deserved that. And here, but if you don't hold your spot, you get demoted. And it was interesting because I had an agent call me about a player that he didn't think I had high enough on the list. Now, there's always going to be a debate on the list, on your scouting list for the draft. And I just said to him, I said, if he wants to go higher, tell him to play better. And if Zach Bolduc doesn't want to play on the fourth line and wants to play more than 8 minutes, play better, Zach. You're capable. We talked about Zach in recent shows. When Zach is initiating and he's pushing and he's invested in the hard parts of the game, strong on the puck, he's a good player. Now he's got to take that to the defensive part of the game, earn the trust of his coach, and he'll get more ice time. And if he doesn't do those things, he'll wallow on the fourth line.
Yeah. And Texier found himself alongside Kapanen and Demidov on, I'm not going to call it the second line because we put too much onus on numbering lines, I think you said. But where is he a fit, in your opinion? I think they're still trying to figure out what kind of player he is.
Yeah, I think Alexander is a skilled player. So I think you got to put him in skill situations. I playing him with Demidov, playing him with Kapanen, those are spots that, I think that he has a better chance of excelling. Now, it may be a case where he becomes what I call a flex offensive player. You need offense. You want to have him pushed up the lineup a little bit, playing in those offense. You push him up a little bit higher in the lineup. If you don't need offense, you might not have him playing in those spots. You're right. I think they're still trying to get comfortable, and I'm talking about Marty St. Louis and the coaching staff, and at the same time, so is Texier. So as you go through it, there's, I don't want to call them growing pains. This is just trying to get familiar, get comfortable with who I'm going to play with. Coach is getting comfortable with him. He showed some good signs in the game versus Winnipeg on Wednesday night. And I think that what you're trying to do now is get those good moments stretched out, and so that he can, be a productive, consistent player where the coaches have built their confidence in his ability to play in those offensive situations. But I think if you're going to ask Texier to go down and be a checker and a hard player and a heavy player, then you're going to miscast him.
What are you expecting for the Canadiens and the Leafs on Saturday night?
Well, the Leafs have played better. They've played harder. They played a lot more, I guess what I would call skating legs. Skating legs mean you got to skate to defend. You got to skate to create opportunities. And I think they've done that in their last couple of games. And we know what happened the last time Montreal and Toronto played. It was an embarrassment for the Toronto Maple Leafs. Now, when I say an embarrassment, understand that Montreal dictated how that game was going to be played, and Toronto couldn't match it. So I'm expecting, much like the Winnipeg Jets on a Wednesday night in Montreal, came back after a real beatdown against the Buffalo Sabres, that they'll come back with that type of an effort. And I think their most recent games show that they have that. So for Montreal, bring your Wednesday game and be ready to go. And I think it'll be a real nice tilt.
I really believe that this is a statement game for the Leafs. This is a big one, don't you think? Saturday night versus the Canadiens, who laid the smackdown on Toronto almost 2 weeks ago. 2 weeks later, I mean, Toronto has to come out guns blazing.
I totally agree with you. And probably that was your answer was way better than mine. It's a statement game for the Leafs. It's great to say your last two games, but you got this rising team in the Montreal Canadiens. You got the Toronto Maple Leafs with all these expectations around them. And, the bottom line is Montreal's not as good as, or Toronto's not as good as Montreal right now. So if you want to show that you're better, you better come out on Saturday night and deliver.
Canadians, the youngest team in the league on average, last night took on the Winnipeg Jets, the oldest team in the National Hockey League on average. Is the window still open for you in Winnipeg? And if so, how much longer will it be open, Craig?
It's open because you have players that are elite players playing at elite levels. Hellebuck, Morrissey, Scheifele, Connor, Velarde, they're Lowry. I mean, in different parts of their lineup, they have those key players. Listen, the Winnipeg Jets have not played very well defensively this year. They haven't. That is their biggest issue. A team that was great the past two seasons defensively had been one of the poorest teams this year defensively. So it doesn't matter that Connor Hellebuck's hurt. So if that doesn't improve, I don't care who you have on your team, you're not going to win. So I don't see a window close. The other area they got to look at, and I thought Jonathan Toews to me isn't the problem with the second line. The problem with the second line is the wingers. They lose Ehlers, who was a dynamic winger and explosive winger. They don't have that anymore. Perfetti isn't that guy. I love Nemesnikov. He's a flex guy, swing guy, but they don't have that second line sucks life from that team. I think it's an area they got to address. I think it's a big area. You know what's interesting, Tony? Earlier this year, Jonathan Toews was playing with Nemesnikov and Iafallo. There was no problems. When Cole Perfetti came back, it became a real problem for that second line. Cole Perfetti right now is the fly in the ointment, I think, for the second line. It's too light, not fast enough, not heavy enough. And I think that's an area that Kevin Cheveldayoff has to look at hard, because the third line's fine, first line's fine, and if they get playing hard and disciplined in the defensive play like they have in the past two seasons, then their window's open. If it doesn't, they won't make the playoffs this year.
Craig, lastly, in ending, Adam Lowry delivers a huge hit on Alex Carrier. Jack Guy's on the ice, Arbor, and says, no, we got to go. And Adam Lowry, who challenged his teammates, and just prior to that, and they had a closed-door meeting, and they all vented. He's got to answer the bell at that point, so he does. That was a tilt of two very big men there, 164, 165, and that was quite the tilt. And Arbor Jack Guy, who did well, said at the end of the game, I'm pretty mentally strong, but after losing my last couple of fights, I really needed to have that one.
Yeah, and I think for Arbor, I mean, we know how his teammates value him, and how much he cares, and certainly that play is one that's a heavy hit by Lowry on Carrier, and Arbor says, hey, listen, we can't have that. Adam Lowry knows the deal. He's the captain, and he knows the deal, and okay, here we go. And I think for Arbor, we talk about building up your confidence in different areas. Confidence in his team with him now knowing, okay, he's got our back. That's important too. I talk about the goaltenders. Important to know that when you go out on the ice, if anybody thinks they can take a liberty with us, and one of the things that we talked about, it's a clean hit. Yeah, it's a clean hit. But it's more about if a player feels that you're taking liberties with other players, well, then you got to address it. And that's what Arbor Jack I did. And you don't want teams feeling like, oh, boy, we can come in here and run roughshod over the Montreal Canadiens and over some of their skilled players and whatnot. So Arbor Jack I, says, not on my watch, not tonight. Like I said, Adam Lowry knows the deal too.
Craig Button, always fun talking with you. I'll talk to you again next week.
We will. Thanks, Tony. Hey, listen, throat lozenges, lemon, warm lemon juice.
There we go. There's run right here. These are honey lozenges. All right. Okay. Thank you very much, Craig Button. Sick Podcast brought to you in part by Energy Transportation Group, a leading asset light 3PL that's driven to be different from cross-border freight between Canada, USA, and Mexico. Coast-to-coast shipping in both Canada and the United States. Energy moves it all. Fast, reliable, powered by tech that delivers smarter logistics. And a real partner in transportation. Contact the team at sick@shipenergy.com. See how Energy Transportation Group is changing the freight game. Also want to talk to you about Playground. 15 years of history. One legendary celebration from world champions to record-breaking jackpots. Playground has always been where poker history unfolds. Now they're marking the milestone with the 15-year anniversary series, December 4th to 16, featuring 15 trophy events and $850,000 guaranteed. Take your shot in the $1,150 main event with $400,000 guaranteed, or go bounty hunting in the $300 mystery bounty with $150,000 guaranteed. Playground, 15 years of champions, and they're just getting started. Also brought to you in part by Bittt, Tibi. Launched their new ultra lager, refreshing, thirst-quenching beer, perfect for chilly winter days. Only 90 calories, 2 grams of carbs, 4% ABV per can. Available in packs 6 and 12 in grocery stores all around the province of Quebec. It's ultra light and ultra refreshing. As you can all see by outside, winter is definitely here. So introducing the Slush Buster. If we have the video that we can show you what it looks like, that would be even better. Slushbuster.ca is the website for the Slush Buster, the new innovative snow brush designed to tackle winter's mess with ease. From heavy slush to stubborn ice, the Slush Buster clears it all quickly, keeping your car clean and your hands dry. Smarter, stronger, and built for Canadian winters. They also have one like a club at the end of it, so you can go in between your tires and the spokes, and you can break all that ice off. It is an amazing winter brush. Special thanks to all of our sponsors. Without further ado, it's time for Pierre LeBrun.
Pierre LeBrun, presented by Cafe Milano, because winning tastes better.
Yes, sports commentary doesn't stop at the buzzer, and neither does Cafe Milano, a true community cornerstone in St. Leonard. With buzzing spots in Laval and Point Claire, they're serving a banger sandwiches, and my personal favorite being the sausage sandwich with spicy marinated eggplants, vibrant salads, bursting with flavors, lattes, espressos that keep your energy high through overtime. Throw in a cannoli or two in every bite. Join the locals at Cafe Milano, and check them out, of course, on their Instagram as well, Cafe Milano, because winning tastes better. From one Expos cap to another, Pierre LeBrun, how are you?
Yeah, well, let the record show I was starting to wear it this year way before Craig Button. He's just riding on my coattails with the Expos hat, but that's okay. I've ridden on his coattails many other times for his excellent analysis, so fair deal.
He is following the trend, I guess. A hockey rink 3 to 4 feet short in Milan. Is this a joke?
It's not a joke. It's what's happening. Yeah, so a little shorter than an NHL rink. I think a little more has been made of it than really matters. The reality is, Tony, Team Canada knew about this back in September, so it's not news to them. It just so happens that it just finally came out now. Way more important is the fact that there's still concern about whether this rink's going to be built on time. That's the only story that matters.
That's crazy.
Not the fact that it's going to be 3 feet short. Who cares? But no, I mean,
pardon me, in length or in width? In length or in width?
I'm not even sure, and we've tried to find that out and can't get a straight answer. So,
okay.
So that's a good question. Now, a week ago, Bill Daly told me after having their own people in Milan that they felt a little more relieved that things were progressing. But now this week, there's some concern again. So it's hard to put your finger on where this comes from, other than this, just the fact that they thought it would have been built by now. And I will share this with you. I sent out an email to the International Olympic Committee overnight, and to find out, how they feel about this, given the attention it's getting. And they reached out to me this morning. We're taping this here on Thursday. and said that they stand by the statement that they sent me back on October 16th. And at the time, on October 16th, the IOC told me that they believe the arena would be finished construction by mid-December, and that a test event would be held there in early January. And they stand by that statement on this day. So I don't know if you looked at the calendar recently, but mid-December is not very far. It's literally
it's 2 weeks away, less 10 days away.
So
yeah,
it's getting interesting.
That's kind of crazy, but to me, this is intriguing. If you're 4 feet less in length or in width, and it can affect the construction of your team. Like I just saw Lane Hutson do his thing last night. Now I'm bringing Lane Hutson, whether you're playing on a pond or you're playing in a rink that's 4x4. Okay. Right. Having said that, maybe, a GM looks at that and says, if I have 4 feet less in width, I'm not bringing Lane Hutson, because now all of a sudden he can't, there's not a lot of room for him on the ice to be able to dangle and do his thing that makes him special.
Right.
I think this is interesting.
Yeah, I mean, I think it's a way bigger conversation comparing NHL ice to international bigger ice. And they've known since the get-go that it would be NHL ice. Now it just so happens it's even 3 feet smaller than NHL ice. My point being, I think I've heard that conversation with Team Canada officials over the years and Team USA and other countries, frankly, when you're doing the NHL versus IIHF ice. The 3 feet, I mean, I think Tom Wilson's on Team Canada now, no matter what, in my opinion. Now, I could be wrong, but I know how much his name comes up in their conversations.
Yeah.
I have a feeling that he might replace Travis Konechny on the Four Nations roster. I don't think those 3 feet matter. What matters is that it's NHL ice, and Tom Wilson, who continues to light it up, by the way, playing amazing offensive hockey, is also an extremely physical player on NHL ice, very effective on the forecheck, and a terrific penalty killer. I think Team Canada wish it had a mulligan from Four Nations and had included him to begin with. But the 3 feet doesn't cement Tom Wilson's place. I think I have a feeling he was already going to be on. If indeed I'm right. I mean, I could be wrong.
Yeah.
But I think the bigger conversation, and you saw Bill Guerin's comments, I think, to me last week, Tony.
Mm-hmm.
They made the rounds, I think, the interview I did with him in The Athletic. And one of the things that he said, and I love his transparency when you talk to Bill Guerin, the Team USA GM, and he said, if you can't check, then I don't think the Olympic tournament's for you. That's what he said. And I know that it rubbed a lot of people the wrong way. I think, first of all, people misunderstand what he means by check. He doesn't mean third line grinders. He means one of the best checkers in the NHL is? Sidney Crosby is really good at checking. He's talking about 200-foot players. You know, also is a really good checking player is Nick Suzuki of the Montreal Canadiens. So I think people misunderstood that quote. Now, I just mentioned a couple of Canadian guys, not American guys.
Yeah.
But my point is, he's just saying there is very little room at best on best, and players that don't know what they're doing without the puck are most likely going to have a really hard time making Team USA. And there's no question that same philosophy holds with Team Canada.
Speaking of Nick Suzuki, Greg Wyshynski of ESPN asked a couple of writers to weigh in and give their odds-on favorites for certain NHL awards. And the voters have Nick Suzuki in the lead for the Selke Trophy right now.
There you go.
It's a very, very tight race, but they got him in the lead. And obviously, the injury to Barkov has opened the door there for another player to win the award, because he's a guy who would have been the odds-on favorite had he been there.
Mm-hmm.
Your thoughts on that?
Well, I think it's a great compliment of people outside the Montreal market recognizing what people like you and Habs fans have known for a while. But Nick Suzuki gets all the tough matchups. You know, he has to go up against the best players every night, and his two-way game is superb, and it's one of the reasons he has a shot at making Team Canada. It's really, you know, I wrote about this today. I interviewed Doug Armstrong. Obviously, he wasn't gonna. Doug Armstrong was very careful in what he had to say. The reason I interviewed him is because Team Canada has a critical meeting coming up Sunday to Tuesday in Florida. The whole management group and Pete DeBoer as well, and they're going to cut down the list again. And as Doug Armstrong said, they're going to go from players in pencil to players in pen on their lineup. And Doug Armstrong hopes to come out of that meeting Tuesday, Tony, 70% of their picks done. So it's really getting to crunch time. But going back to Suzuki, I wrote this in my piece in The Athletic today. He's in a group of players, I don't want to forget anyone, that I think is in the final conversation here in terms of how difficult it will be to figure out these final forwards. And, you know, again, let's start with the fact that the Team Canada staff really likes a lot of the guys that were at Four Nations, and those guys have delivered under pressure, right? So that's a big step for those guys. The one quote I had from Armstrong is it's going to be a difficult team to make as a forward. There's no question. That's the only thing he would say. So from that, this is what I think it means. Okay, Tony? I think there's 2 to 3 spots open from Four Nations to the Olympic team. I don't think it's much more than that. And obviously, one of those spots is that there's an extra forward spot for the bigger Olympic roster. Here are the guys that weren't at Four Nations that I think are absolutely heavily in the conversation right now, this late in the game. Macklin Celebrini, Bo Horvat, Nick Suzuki, Tom Wilson, Wyatt Johnston, Mark Scheifele, and Connor Bedard. Okay, those are the guys, and you're taking probably 3 of those. I think that's where it's at right now. Now, today is December 4th, and the deadline is December 31st. So again, what's true today may not be true next week, but that's where I think we are today. And again, I really like Wilson's chances. So are you taking Suzuki? Are you taking Horvat? Are you taking Celebrini? Are you taking Bedard? You know, there's some unbelievable conversations here to be had at this 3-day meeting for Team Canada. And as I like to say, after they pick the team, it's not win or lose for the Canadian Olympic team. It's win or else.
So I like to go the other way in process of elimination. You have already a spot because you have a roster spot.
Yeah.
We agree that Wilson will probably take Konechny's spot.
I mean, I think.
Yeah. Or someone will. Said Jarvis going to be on the team?
So I think that's another bubble guy. Not through no fault of his own. I think he's having a really good year for Carolina. But again, you know, he played on the bottom end of that roster at the Four Nations. So I think his spot is a spot they talk about.
Yep.
Mark Stone is back, but he missed a chunk of the season. And I thought he played really well at Four Nations myself. And I know the Team Canada coaching staff felt the same way. But is he a lock? I don't think so. Anthony Cirelli, I know a lot of fans, when they do their mock Team Canada's, they like to knock him off. All I can tell you is who's the head coach of Team Canada. And I'm not trying to be funny. I'm not trying to be funny about that, but he wins faceoffs, he kills penalties, he has the trust of John Cooper. So to me, I think Cirelli stays on. Yeah. You know, some people look at Brad Marchand and say he's too old. Brad Marchand's the MVP of the Florida Panthers right now. We're trying to stay alive. He's had that good a year. Yeah. So again,
and Hagel also said, "Hey, coach,
5-on-5 stud." There's no way he's not on Team Canada. I don't know what I'm doing in my job if Brandon Hagel's not on the team. So
and you know what? Even if you had any doubts, like you said, could you imagine being the coach of that team and not having one of your players make it, like the fear of actually losing that player the rest of the season and not having the same relationship with that player?
Right.
We've seen what that can do, right? Marty St. Louis and Steve Yzerman at one point.
That was a real thing. I mean, they patched things up over the years for sure, obviously, because the success they had in Tampa together. But that was a real thing in the moment when Martin St. Louis wasn't named immediately in 2014 to the Olympic team. He eventually replaced an injured Steven Stamkos, but that was there were some real hurt feelings there. You know, there's a lot of history there when the late Pat Quinn in Salt Lake City. I was there in Salt Lake, Tony, and he only gave his Toronto Maple Leafs goalie Curtis Joseph one game. Curtis Joseph got lit up by Sweden. I mean, I don't think 3 goalies could have stopped the Swedish torpedo system that night in Salt Lake City. That was mesmerizing. how dominating Sweden was. But Cujo out, and then Marty Brodeur in. The rest is history. But I could tell you things were a little, that was hard on the relationship between Cujo and Pat Quinn for a while. Obviously, they got over it. But that's the inside game to all this stuff is, you have coaches and GMs with relationships with these players. But, when you talk to them, they park that. They want the best Team Canada possible.
Canadiens and the Leafs on Saturday night in Toronto. If you want to get in on the action, go all the way with Betway. Get a deposit matchup bonus up to $300 on your first deposit. Scan the QR code on the screen or click on the link in details section to create an account. Redeem your welcome offer. Offer is only available for new customers. Terms and conditions apply. Offer is not available in Ontario. Must be 18 years of age and older. And please play responsibly. Okay, a couple of topics before we let you go. Where are the Vancouver Canucks at with Kiefer Sherwood?
Well, so my sense of it is there's a lot of interest and a bunch of teams checked in. As I've reported on Insider Trading, Montreal's one of the teams that checked in, as they should. It'd be bigger news if you found out they didn't, right, Tony? I mean,
yeah,
that's your job if you're Ken Hughes, is you got to check on these things. So Dallas, Minnesota, Montreal, several teams, I'm told, have checked in on it. I don't know that it's advanced past that right now. I feel like what's happened is Vancouver got a lot of attention on him after announcing last week to teams that they were listing on their pending UFAs. And now it's like the Canucks are processing everything that's happened, all the teams that have called. I don't think, and I could be wrong, obviously, because all these things are private conversations, but I don't think Vancouver's in a rush here, and I don't think they've advanced any of these conversations past the first step so far. Lots of time between now and March 6th, obviously.
What's going on with Jordan Binnington in St. Louis?
Yeah, I mean, listen, I think him and Jim Montgomery patched things up quickly after that little flare up the other night when Montgomery pulled Binnington. Binnington's not been very good, is the bottom line so far this year. A lot of that is attributed to the play in front of him. But I still think he ends up as one of Canada's 3 goalies. I just don't know now if he's going to be the starter anymore. So that's what might be costing Jordan Binnington right now, is he needs to play some good games here to regain the trust, I think, of John Cooper. But, he's got a modified no trade clause. There are probably certain teams on that no trade clause that might have interest in him, is my guess. So that's another dynamic in all this. So we'll see where that goes.
Canadiens have had some ups and downs, a lot of downs in the last couple of weeks. The 5-1 loss to Los Angeles, 7-0 loss to the Dallas Stars, 7-2 loss to Colorado, 8-4 loss to Washington, 5-2 loss to Ottawa. They won last night versus Winnipeg, 3-2 in a shootout. And during this time, there have been always a couple of scouts from the Nashville Predators and always a scout or two from the St. Louis Blues. I understand that every now and then it's in passing. You have to go from city A to city C, and you stop at city B in between. But when you're consistently scouting the same team and their American Hockey League affiliate over the last 2 or 3 weeks, I would imagine that there's something.
I mean, listen, there's no question in my mind that the Habs have had conversations with Nashville and St. Louis. Again, if for no other reason, is to make sure that if things start to escalate with guys available on either one of those teams, that the Habs have a chance at being involved. Ryan O'Reilly would fit what Montreal needs for sure. I don't know that the price that Barry Trotz, the GM of the Predators, has put out there around O'Reilly fits anyone's desires right now. Might be a little high, first round pick and an A-level prospect. He's 34 years old now, still very respected, still an impactful two-way player. And I think smart of Nashville to put that out early as a high price, because guess what? The trade deadline's not today, is it, Tony?
No.
So I always think when teams are selling, start high, start with high prices and see if someone bites. Why not? You got time on your side. So I think there's a bit of that going on. And so that's what I would say to that.
Canadiens played tribute to Andrei Markov yesterday. You have a Markov story for us?
I don't specifically have a story. I think that, I think what I enjoy the most about his play was that he played on a lot of mediocre Habs teams during his time. And I think that if he played on a contender at the apex of his career, I start to wonder how much greater his career might have been. And that's not a shot at the Habs. I'm just saying that he was a victim of his surroundings at times, given how talented he was. And I thought about that for a long time, but he was so loyal, too, that he only saw himself as a Montreal Canadiens. And I feel bad for how it ended. I think there was a lot of miscommunication between him and his camp and Mark Bergevin at the end that I think everyone involved wished they could get back on both sides of it.
Yeah. He represented himself down the stretch.
Well, at the end, yeah.
Yeah, at the end. Yeah.
And it's too bad the way it ended, because I think everyone would have liked a mulligan there. I mean, that should not have been the way that played out.
No, Markov asked for a 2-year deal at $6 million this season, so $12 million in total. His last 2 contracts with the Canadiens had a cap hit of $5.75 million per year. And as a 39-year-old, he asked for that 2-year deal at $12 million, and the Canadiens offered 1-year deal, $4 million plus $2 million that could be had in bonuses and incentives. Yeah. And he said, thanks, but no thanks, and ends up leaving the Canadiens 10 games shy. And you could understand the Canadiens making a 1-year offer. You can at 39 years old, but at the same time, in the end, he was right, because when he said no, they turned to Carl Alsner, and they ended up buying out that contract.
How did that go?
That did not go well. No. You talked about
good guy, by the way.
A great guy. You talked about talking to Bill Guerin last week. Well, yesterday, Pierre McGuire and Jimmy Murphy on the Sick Podcast, the Eye Test, had a chance to speak to him as well. And Pierre McGuire said, "You're in Montreal. Are you here to see Cole Caufield and Lane Hutson?" And Bill Guerin said, "That's exactly why I'm here. I'm here to see those 2 guys." I like what I saw from both those players. I'm wondering if he did. It's hard to. I thought Lane Hutson was unbelievable yesterday. I thought he was a wizard.
So let's do the same thing we just did with Team Canada, because I think it's really instructive for everyone who tries to figure this out, to put yourself in the shoes of management, because it's not about adding guys. It's about taking guys off the Four Nations roster. And Bill Guerin told me the same thing as Doug Armstrong has, that the Four Nations roster matters a lot, because those guys that were there developed trust for him in terms of most of them being able to play best on best. So you want Lane Hutson on, who you taking off from the guys that were at, and remember that Quinn Hughes didn't even play at Four Nations. So you're adding Quinn Hughes to the group already.
I'll just say this. I'll say that for me, out of all the defensemen in the National Hockey League, from an offensive standpoint, the 3 that impact the game the most are Cale Makar, Quinn Hughes, and Lane Hutson. I can't leave a guy like that home.
Okay.
So now, I know I didn't answer your question.
I would have Zach Werenski ahead of Lane Hutson myself.
That's okay. I could take that. Yeah,
been there, done that. So I think where you're going, because you can't all have offensive defensemen either on an Olympic team. You agree? I mean, you're trying to find.
I agree. Balance. So you can have 3 offensive in Hughes, Werenski, and Hutson, and have 3 defensive.
So you're taking Lane Hutson ahead of Jake Sanderson, is what you're saying?
I'm saying I think
it's hard. You see, I know
it's hard. It's hard, and you can make a case for Jake Sanderson over Lane Hutson. You can make that case. I don't think he is, but then again, you can definitely make that case. He's a great player.
And listen, I think tip of the hat. I mean, Bill Guerin's now been to Montreal a couple of times in the last 2 weeks. He told me the same thing, that the first time he went, it was to watch Caufield and Hutson. I quoted him about Caufield saying he's doing all he can, that he loves the kids compete. I just don't know where that's still going to leave him, because the next quote in that story was about how there's no ice on best on best, and how, you
think a team should bring a shootout specialist though?
Right. Well, that's, especially when you have 14 forwards. I mean, these are all great conversations. I mean,
yeah, because he's good in the shootout, I'll tell you.
Yeah, he sure is. And listen, it's kind of like when Canada, I think, internally debates the 8th defenseman. They really like their group at Four Nations to begin with. But is there a case, despite his struggles this year, that Evan Bouchard is brought in simply as insurance in case Cale Makar goes down? Or are you better off saying Matthew Schaefer's been unbelievable, and even if he doesn't dress for a game, he's earned this, and if we have an injury, this kid seems like there's no limits to his game. He's the 8th defenseman. I mean, these conversations are fascinating, and they're real.
Yeah. I'd love to see Schaefer, Celebrini, and Bedard there. And I know that it's not about the future, and I know that it's about winning a gold medal right now. But that would be huge for them, and they're so good. They're so good. You know what this says in the end, and we'll end it here, is that there's a lot of really good hockey players from the United States, and there's a lot of really good hockey players from Canada. And they could probably send 2 teams each to the Olympics.
There's no question about that. And by the way, it wouldn't shock me if Sweden won the gold medal. So there you go. There you go.
Awesome stuff. Thank you, Pierre LeBrun. You take care of yourself, and I'll talk to you again next Wednesday, okay?
Right on.
Thank you very much. There you have it. I love that Expos cap, and I love this guy, Pierre LeBrun. Special thanks to all of our sponsors, and special thanks to all of you as well. And for Sammy Cavallaro at Master Control. I thought I was going to go a little bit shorter than about an hour. I actually ended up going about an hour. The voice is okay. It's better than it has been in the last week, and hopefully we can keep on going in that direction. Thanks again for watching and listening. It's a Sick Podcast. I'm Marinaro. We'll be back tomorrow, same time, same place.
And that's a wrap. Hope you don't miss us too much until next time. Follow the Sick Podcast with Tony Marinaro on YouTube, Instagram, Facebook, Google Play, and Apple Podcasts. The Sick Podcast is brought to you by Energy Transportation Group, driven to be different. LaBita.tb, embrace your true nature. And Playground, your premier gaming destination.